Hi, hello. Sorry, I'm actually trying to find the best angle, yet alone the best place to do my videos for this book that I'm reading for Lent, which is After by Anna Todd. Now, I have obviously added a few extra bits of information in between all of my blogging and also my videos on YouTube. I still can't get used to where I'm actually supposed to look when I'm talking on my phone. It's so different to when someone else is actually filming for you. So yeah, I do apologise for like the little bits of waffling and other things that I've been talking about over the last couple of days since I first started reading the book. So it's official. I've probably been reading it now for about 5 days, taking the fact that it's the 5th of March. I did manage to do a little bit of reading yesterday, despite the fact that I didn't think that would actually happen with me offering to assist with volunteering for the Ukraine appeal. So I actually, at this moment in time, I am on chapter 44. So if you read or watch any of my previous videos, it will tell you what chapter I was on prior to that. Now, like I said, I have seen a few reviews about the book and the movie online, and I think that's the worst thing for an author, is that people are either going to love your work or they're going to hate your work. And I think with anything to do with the arts, be it reading, be it movies, theatre, sculpting, painting, you're always going to have to try and find what that niche is and who's going to be happy with what you've produced. Now, I've got to chapter 44, which in my book is page 219. That might vary depending on which book you've got. I'm not entirely sure. Now, I do apologise. In my last video, I actually said Aidan instead of Arden. As his name. Maybe his name should have been Aidan instead of Arden. Would have been a bit easier to say on occasions. Now, straight away, a bit of a spoiler if you don't already know this. As you're aware, Tess and Harden have had a relationship practically from day one of meeting each other. Yeah, she has a boyfriend called Noah, and it's official, they've broken up with each other. And from where I'm currently reading now, it's so different to the movie. I even found out today, I mean, I'm going to double check on Netflix what the age range is, but apparently the movie had a PG rating. And again, I'm going to double check what the age rate was for Cruel Intentions, which has Summer Blair in, and the age rate for 50 Shades of Grey, the movies. I know in the UK that the age rating we may give something may be different to the United States or somewhere else in the world. And if it has been given a PG rating, which is basically parents' guidance, and then there's a list of rules of what that may or may not contain and what directors have to follow. I don't really know that much about that. I think, to be honest, would I be happy with my my son's 8, so no, I wouldn't allow my 8-year-old to watch that film. I don't think it's the sort of film that's appropriate for his age. Would I allow if I had a teenage daughter to watch it? Probably, yeah, I would. But, so I don't really think it's more of a chick flick as opposed to for boys. But again, if she did watch it, I think I'd have to kind of let her watch it to sort of show this is the sort of relationship you don't want to end up in. Because in the book, it's so obvious how toxic their relationship is, how abusive their relationship is. And, it's not even about like, oh, it's young love, it's so romantic, it's like their first real relationship, it's like their first real love, and they don't know how to treat one another. it shouldn't matter whether you're intimate with somebody or not. If you went around telling people to F off all the time, or shouting at them, or, having these constant erratic mood swings, which in my past experience probably shows signs of mental health and well-being within the characters, needs assessing, because it's obvious both of them have endured some kind of childhood trauma, due to the fact that the book does talk about alcoholism, alcohol abuse, and abusive parents. And so at the moment, most of that has already been covered by chapter 44. The one thing that I mentioned in my previous video was how it's the same in the movie, how Landon rings her and says, Tess, I need you. Harden has gone off the rails and he's asking for you. And she goes out and she helps him, and she stays at the house and she looks after him, and they sort of spend the night together while her boyfriend Noah is in her dorm room. But in the book, she actually takes Noah's car. So it's not like he doesn't know where she's going. So when I think of that, I think to myself, well, obviously she's got a driver's license because she's talking about buying her first car with Noah, and it was something special they were going to do together. He was going to help her find a job, but Harden had already mentioned about this internship opportunity as a way to, make her think that he's this kind, endearing person who maybe wants to be friends or more than friends. So he's already kind of homed in on the fact that she wants to be a publicist. She wants to use her abilities in English to further her career and have a career in English, being a publicist if possible, or working for some publishing house, which is quite difficult. It's quite challenging to get into, as far as I'm aware. And whereas in the film, a bit of a spoiler, it's actually his dad that mentions it to her, and then she goes out with that little bit of information and arranges it herself. So as of yet, at the moment, she hasn't got the deal with the publisher. It's just something that's mentioned briefly before chapter 44. And the whole sort of all these special moments and all these firsts she was going to do with Noah, because he's her first boyfriend. They were going to get the first car. They were going to help her get a first proper job, because she has worked previously in the past to help support her mom and herself when her dad left. He's always been this sort of touchstone for her in a way, I suppose. Whenever anything goes wrong, he's being the first person she would speak to, the first person she would talk to. So even Harden is saying to her, didn't anyone have any interest in you in high school? And she's like, well, no. Everybody knew that I was with Harden. Everybody knew I was with Noah. So nobody tried it on with me. Nobody tried to make passes at me. They just accepted we were a couple. We were in a relationship. That was that. In college, it's completely different. It's like, oh, so-and-so's in a relationship, so why should that matter? That doesn't mean they still can't sleep with me. The rules of dating and how people should be dating and how people shouldn't be dating, they all kind of get thrown out and changed. So again, the book does more emphasize on the fact that it's more acceptable when you're at college to share relationships, share partners, be promiscuous. And in the movie, Tristan, who Tessa's roommate, is dating, and it's clear they're dating. They're not just having a fling together. It is actually a relationship. In the film, they change it to being a girl, which, to be honest, I don't have an issue with at all. It's very common for authors' books to get changed and characters to be changed when they hit the silver screen. And again, it just kind of shows that at that sort of age, it's more acceptable in society when you reach a certain age to experiment sexually, but also to not have a heterosexual relationship with someone. I personally think that even now in today's society, I mean, I have children who are under the age of 10, and even now at school, they're still being taught that you must be in a heterosexual relationship. Although they've tried to bring in information and education about transgender, because there's been a lot of stuff on before COVID hit, there was a lot of information on in the media about what is a transgender person. What does transgender mean? Not transvestite, not being homosexual, not being a lesbian, not being bisexual, but being transgender. And again, it's something I've heard parents talk about at the school gates. Oh, you know, my child believes that they aren't a boy anymore, they're a girl, and vice versa. And it must be extremely confusing, not just obviously for the parents, but for the child and also for society, because even being homosexual hasn't been accepted that long within the UK. Up until I believe it was like even after the Second World War, you could be arrested for being a homosexual within the UK. You could go to prison for being homosexual. And that is what happens with, I always forget his name. And it's The Imitation Game was based on him. He was the guy who helped break Enigma. And he helped invent the first computer. So it'll probably come to me and I'll just shout it out randomly. And he was homosexual. And he actually was threatened with prison. But because he'd helped during the war, it was obvious that obviously he had other mental health problems because of his upbringing. He went through what was called chemical castration. And if you read the life of, you want to say Tesla? It's Alan Turing, that's his name, Alan Turing. And when you read how he was treated, like, in real life, he was basically like a human guinea pig. He could do this incredible thing to help society, and eventually there was the whole thing, you know, did he or didn't he commit suicide? But if you're, even after the war, Second World War, people who were homosexual were still facing persecution. And even now, it was only allowed a couple of years ago that both men and women, if they wanted to marry or have what is called a civil ceremony, they could have if it was the same sex relationship. I still don't know how that really works with things like the Department of Work and Pensions and claiming benefits, and there's so many different rules and regulations that people abroad and in the UK still have to abide by. So in a way, I'm glad that, I'm sorry for digressing, that Tristan in the movie was changed to be a girl. But again, if the movie did have a PG rating, it was something that they must have obviously had to have heavily spoken about for somebody not to say. So I'm sure a lot of young people would have been like, well, hang on a minute, in the book, as if they'd read the book, it was a boy. And again, I don't believe this book is suitable for anyone under the age of 15. And then in the movie, it's a girl kissing a girl. So again, it's going to open up those questions to a lot of young people. Mom, dad, whoever their parent and guardian is. Why is this movie showing girl-on-girl action? Which it does. And again, my son is 8, and I've already spoken to him about things like that. I can't even remember how it came up into conversation, but it did. And it may have even been because it was only this year, actually, so it's not like he's seen any of my friends who are bisexual. I would say most of my friends who are in open relationships are bisexual. I wouldn't say that they're 100% homosexual or 100% heterosexual or 100% but and that they are lesbians. But anyway, that's just but so my son is aware of what homosexuality is, but we've advised him not to talk about it at school. It is a religious school that he goes to, and although they may have to teach stuff like that on the national curriculum, I know that it's not going to be something that, depending on how Christian the teachers are or the parents are, or even if they're into Catholic Catholicism, they're still going to be wanting to teach their children that it's wrong to be in a homosexual relationship with somebody because of what it says in the Bible. But I don't want to get into that. That's just completely going off what the book is actually about. But then I think it is mentioned in the book like that between Tessa's relationship and Noah. Because although it's only briefly mentioned, it does mention the fact that they are still virgins, they want to consummate their marriage by being virgins, and it's very much one of those things that going to college it's a big thing, who is, who isn't, because you are still young, you're adults, but you're not adults, so not everybody would have had the same sexual experiences or the sexual encounters or the same sort of trauma. Sorry. I need to always be yawning when I'm trying to do videos, probably because I don't really like listening to the sound of my voice too much either.